Joke's on you, we're not playing music anymore. Whoa, welcome to another episode of I Woke Up For This with your host, me, Blaise Kautzman, and my rad co-host.
Hi, I'm Markway. Nice to meet you.
He's not as much of a nerd as he sounds sometimes.
Oh, mostly I'm No, I'm not a nerd. I beat nerds up. Nerds.
Yeah, so watch out, nerds.
Yeah, if you're a nerd, stay out of my way. Unless you want to get beat up.
Beat up. Did you ever beat up a nerd?
No, but one time
One time I got beat up for being a nerd.
I used to wear glasses, and I got beat up for that.
You still wear glasses. Do you get beat up for that still?
Oh, well, this was yesterday. So
You ever give a kid a swirly?
Wait, the swirly's the one in the toilet, right?
Yeah.
No, I never gave a kid a swirly. But one time, I made a kid bleed by snapping him with a towel.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we were in like 6th grade, maybe 7th grade. I think it was 6th grade. We're on the swim team. Guy says, it's two guys that were my friends, and you know how 7th grade dating goes, 6th grade dating.
Yeah.
My friend was neighbors with this girl. They were best friends since, 2nd grade, birth, basically. They're neighbors. But my other friend was dating, 6th grade dating.
Yeah.
So he walks up to him and he's like, "Hey, Alan, why are you talking to Sabrina?" And I thought I was cool. And I was like, "Yeah, Alan." And I had this long beach towel where we weren't naked. We had our swimsuits on, but we were definitely afraid of being naked, being in 6th grade.
Yeah.
And I had this big MTV beach towel, like long beach towel, rolled it up like you do. And it was a little wet on the tip, so I was like, "Yeah, why you talking to Sabrina?" And like 45 minutes later, it finally snapped and was like, and it hit the kid like you guys in at home can't see, but it hit the kid like imagine where your pants line is, and then a little bit above that, and he was a little bit chubby, so I had a little bit of a overhang there, and I hit him right there.
Oh.
And it just split open like an eyeball size gash, and it just immediately, and it didn't even like spray, it just like blood came to the surface and just started going down his back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You cut open his muffin top.
Yes. And he started crying, and then I started crying because I was like, I know how much trouble I'm in right now. And amazingly enough, I didn't get in that much trouble.
Yeah. They're like, it's swim team. You're supposed to get whipped by a towel.
Yeah. And they were like, well, okay, now Al gets to whip you with the towel. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that's how it should be.
And then he did.
Dude, how fun was it, like, getting in trouble and just crying when you were a kid? I remember, like...
Fun was it? I don't remember it being much fun.
No, but a lot of crying happened because you were going to get in trouble.
Oh, yeah, like a lot of crying happened.
Dude, one time... Before my mom would hit us, she was a nice lady, but she did hit
Doesn't
us.
sound like it. Sounds like she was a child abuser. Before my mom hit us, like it's all casual. She'd make some soup and then hit us.
Yeah, it was the early 90s. You just line up for your hittings.
But like, okay.
Dude, she'd purse her lips.
Ooh.
And you'd just be like, well, here, I'm going to get slapped. And you deserved it each time.
Well, yeah.
But I was like, no, but sometimes. Then one time I was finally old enough where my mom went in for the hit, and I just reached my hand up and grabbed her arm, and I was like, oh. She just came in like with the other hand as hard as she could, and I caught that one too. I was like, oh no. And then I just held both her hands and cried and then sprinted downstairs.
Well, yeah, dude, first of all, if you have the ninjutsu skills to catch one arm and then the other arm, like, you deserve to not get slapped at that point.
Dude, I stood in just total awe of what just happened. It's like,
did I just do that? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
She's like, my training with you is done.
Yeah.
I go out into the world, little one.
She gave you a number 1 headband and she just sent you on your way.
Number 1. I wish that's what would happen when you get sent off to college. Your parents give you a number 1 headband.
Yes. I took that reference from a show called Afro Samurai.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, the #1 headband. Samuel L. Jackson plays the Afro Samurai.
Dude, you got to stop telling people that you didn't come up with stuff. Let them say that you stole it.
Here's the thing about that. So one time, I always give credit where credit is due because my buddy, a long time ago, we were talking about showers for some reason.
That's probably when you were snapping each other with towels.
Yeah, no. This was like college age.
Oh, yeah.
And he says we were talking about like sharing stuff like as roommates. He's like, "Oh, my roommate used to use my washcloth," and I was like, "In the shower?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I just told him, "You have to think about the first place that you wash on your body and the last place that I washed on my body." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's disgustingly funny." And then I don't know. Years went by, and I said to him, "Hey, Eric, remember that time you told me about your roommate using the washcloth?" And
Yeah.
then he was like, "Oh yeah, that was an old, let's say, Sam Kinison joke." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, that's not my joke. And I was like, "Oh." So for years, I carried around this thinking that my friend Eric was a wash roommate genius.
Yeah.
And no, he wasn't. So I don't want people out there being like, "Hey, that's not the #1 headband belongs to Samuel L. Jackson." And then they call us up and they beat me up for being a nerd because I do wear glasses. Those of you who can see, they can. Those of you who can see sight know that I wear glasses. But if you're just listening on the radio, thanks, #1. And #2, don't beat up people with glasses just because they're nerds.
Yeah, and every person with glasses is a nerd. There's not anyone that's not a nerd wearing glasses.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And if you see somebody wearing glasses that aren't prescription, just to look like a nerd, beat them up extra hard.
Yeah.
Because I have a prescription, and
What stinks is the people that wear their glasses just to be cool actually look cool wearing glasses. I hate it.
You know what? I hate it. I hate that that's true because if I take my glasses off, I look like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And if I leave them on, I still look like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with glasses.
You take your glasses off, and it's just like the cartoons. You just have tiny black like black dots as eyes.
Ooh, I saw an old person with a black eye yesterday. And by old, I mean like definitely a senior citizen. You know, like super, like he had to have been in his 70s, 80s maybe, and just, I mean, clear as day, a black eye. And I wonder what happens to an old person that they get a black eye.
That is sad. That seems like it's like a fall. There's a distinct like age group where it's like little kids who probably fell over and did something and have a black eye. And then if you're in like 18 to 37, you had a wild night. Or maybe even older than that. 18 to say 55 even. You had a wild night with the boys. You just should probably get your life together if it's still 55 and you're doing that. But then after that, it's just kind of sad that you had like a weird fall or something.
Yeah. My grandmother fell one time, but she didn't get a black eye. When I helped her up, she punched me in the gut for helping her.
And you had a black stomach.
Yeah, she gave me. Well, I always have that. She gave me a black eye.
Nice.
She gave me a black guy. Yeah. Wait, what?
What? You're like, it was you.
Like, Grandma, you can't do that.
Yeah.
What?
We also we have comedian Bryan Miller calling in
right now.
Just a second here.
Oh,
he'll be. He just texted me and said that he's gonna be doing the old doot call. So,
those are the exact sounds that those numbers make. Beep boop beep boop boop
bop bop.
Do you ever try to make a song like people do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star with the old dial-up phones? You can't do it on your cell phone because it's the same button.
No, but Cartman did that in South Park when he was like, doot, 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 doot. They're like, you know the number? He's like, no, no, it's Tally, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Make sure we got him on here.
Talk about it. Okay.
Bryan Miller, how's it going, big dog?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty swell. Thanks for waking up to call in today.
Yeah, you
no
woke
problem.
up for this.
I very much woke up for this. This is well before my my wake time.
Yeah, last night when I texted him, he's like, "You get up that early?" It's like, dude, that's the regular response when we have. It's all comics. One time we had Joey Avery call in from the West Coast. He's like, "That's like 5 a.m. my time." We're like, "Yeah, dude."
Oh yeah.
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 It's not a normal time for people in the industry, I suppose, to get up because we're usually up late at night. But it's a Monday night, you know, that you're staying
Well, I
up
used to
late,
do a-
and then Tuesday morning, oof. What time is it
Yeah, I
where
used
you
to do-
are?
Oh, it's 8:15 or whatever. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to do this radio show in Minneapolis. I used to do it every Friday, and I would do 7 and 9:30, and I'd drive into the studio. So I got used to that for a while.
Early morning radio? Man, so
Yeah, but I was
you're part of it. You live this life. Okay.
Yeah, you know the
I used
struggle.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you're coming to Fargo this weekend. We might as well plug that right away. Bryan Miller's going to be at the Cellar in Fargo both Friday and Saturday. I think both shows are at 9 p.m., right? Summer hours?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Doors open at 8:30. So, guys, I think the last, 4 times you've been in town, I've been on the shows with you, Bryan, haven't I?
Yeah, because I've done a couple of corporates, and then we did New Year's. I think you were there for New Year's when I
Yep.
did that, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, I've got to know Bryan probably out of all the comics that have come to town from outside. Probably done the most shows with him from the cities, at least.
Yeah, we stayed up pretty late drinking. That's why I was so surprised that you would be up at 8:15.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I associate you with 1:45 in the morning.
That's actually pretty good because most people associate it with like 3 to 4 a.m.
I was
So,
going to say 3:45 is the Blaise I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we started a new mic last night in West Fargo, so I did have a couple beers just to support the old new venue, but
Support the venue, yup.
not too crazy.
Yes, exactly. That's why. To support the venue. It's noble of you.
Right? Yeah, yeah. So I was like, I better have 4 to 5 beers to support this venue.
This is sounding more likely as it goes on.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I could get a pitcher, but why not just stretch out my money?
Yeah. Why not spend? Yeah. Oh, man. They got some deals going on. I didn't get to go last night. I was kind of upset. It looked like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty sweet place. There's this place called like the Dive Bar in West Fargo. It's a newer place, and so I just approached them to be like, hey, what's going on Mondays? Because our other Monday mic fell through. And they were like, we have nobody in here on Mondays at all. And I'm like, sweet. This is an easy sell.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I was in Fargo, I was there doing the Fargo Theater with Ismo, and we went to the VFW, me and Ismo and the tour managers, and we went to the VFW, and I was like, oh, I'll get the first round of drinks, and everybody, ordered a drink, and I bought everybody drinks, and they thought I was so nice, because they're all from Hollywood, like, man, you bought everybody drinks. And then I didn't tell them it was like $17.
Yeah.
For everyone in Fargo.
Like, also, do you want a pack of cigarettes from this claw machine?
Yeah.
That's the same thing. I think that one of the few times I smoked cigarettes out of the years was when Bryan has been in town the last 4 times.
I was just like transfixed that they still had a cigarette machine. I hadn't seen one of those even in the South. I hadn't seen one of those.
Yeah, it's funny because I think there are 3 or 4 bars in Fargo that have the cigarette vending machines with cigarettes in them.
There was a place, what was it called? Red Hots, I think, in my hometown in Michigan, and they had a vending machine you'd put in, and I'm not even kidding, it was like $1.50, and then you'd pull this crank deal, like a knob, like it almost looked like a reverse cigarette lighter. You'd pull that out, and then your pack of cigarettes would fall down. And in Red Hots, they did not check IDs for the cigarette vending machine. So, you could be 5 years old, and as long as you had, 6 quarters, you could buy a pack of smokes.
Nice.
I think that's why they generally outlawed the vending machine for that exact very reason.
I know, because when I went there as a 7th grader, I was super upset that I couldn't get my smokes anymore. And I said, Ruth, where's the machine? She said, it's gone. The Gestapo came and took it.
You guys need a weed vending machine now. I mean, we're almost there, right? There should be some sort of like put in $5, get a joint.
You probably could do that. It'd be highly illegal in North Dakota right now. But
in North Dakota,
right.
You could walk over to Moorhead.
Walk over to Moorhead, do that, and then head back.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't like paying for my panic attacks. So I'd be fine not doing that.
Yeah. Jeez, we got to get you some different stuff in Minnesota.
Yeah, in Minnesota, obviously.
Yeah.
It must be really weird to be like, oh yeah, well, right now we would go to jail for like 3 months or something, but then if you walk about 27 feet over that way, the state will gladly provide it for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think they'll probably do something like every other state and just slide it in a bill that's for like, I don't know, abortion rights, and they're like, oh, we can smoke weed now. And he didn't read on the 15th page of this that
that's what Minnesota did. I think they snuck in the
very
edibles
much
part.
Yeah,
and then it was like, wait, what? And they're like, oh man, we just did what?
We just got to find a sly congressman we know to know which bills are coming up to slide.
He's just hanging out with the congressman, and he's like, yeah, I'll do that for you.
I've met a couple of congressmen that were actually quite a bit like that, to be honest. But
oh yeah.
Oh geez, name names. No, I'm just kidding. Was it Barack Obama?
Oh, in Minnesota though, so that explains how we got where we're going.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, they probably didn't want to get pulled over and put on national TV, so they were like, to protect myself, I'm going to pass this bill.
Yeah. In North Dakota, they're just going to slide in that there's no such thing as a DUI law.
Oh, man. Well, who gets their records expunged when the DUIs are eradicated?
Hopefully me.
The answer is most comics.
Right.
It's one of the great things about doing the cellar in Fargo is that you stay right near there, and so you just park. You drive into there and you park, and then you don't have to get back in your car until you leave. And it's a very it's a good safety measure, I got to tell you.
Oh, for sure, yeah, that rules.
Oh yeah, all the bars are within walking distance of the place. It's
absolutely everything.
Great location.
Club, the bars, it's terrific.
Oh wait, I got a question for this, Brian, because you've been doing comedy for quite a while. So when it comes to like open mics and stuff at like your level, do you still go to quite a few of those, or do you have mostly like shows and stuff that you just like kind of run new stuff by? And
I still go to open mics all the time. I mean, I've been doing this 16 years.
Yeah.
I honestly don't really know how people do it without going to open mics.
Yeah, neither do I.
I mean, obviously, I don't go to as many as I used to, but because I have like shows also. But yeah, I go to Acme open mic every single Tuesday, and then pretty much every Friday that I'm in town, I do the Comedy Corner Underground, and then I do the Comedy Corner's Wednesday mic usually. So I try to do at least 3 mics a week if I can't do the Friday mic, or if I can do the Friday mic, and just to get enough of a read on it so that you can get the joke kind of going, and then once it's like sort of going, you can work it into the middle of your set at a regular show, and like that's kind of when I feel like I finish the joke, is like doing it, in the regular act. But to get it to be good enough to go into the regular act, I don't know how you do that without doing it at an open mic. I don't know, 4 or 5 times at least.
Oh yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. There are some people that I've seen just like, I mean, obviously, there's some that are just like crazy that can just throw that in. Like, I just came up with that. You're like, but takes.
I mean, I do that sometimes. It's not like I don't. It's not like I'm hesitant to like try a line out or something. But like, I don't know. I'm trying to maintain a bit of a standard of quality here on the set. So I don't really want to just like, hey, I thought of this 3 new minutes today. Let's just put it in the middle. It's not generally a great idea.
Yeah.
That's kind of like when you're doing open mics, do you feel like any kind of like pressure, like people who are like looking at you like, why is he doing an open mic? He's, clearly headlining Acme or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, why would he waste his time here? Do you ever get like pressure like that?
No, I never even think. I mean, honestly, I really don't mean this to sound good or bad, but I really don't think about other people much at all.
For
when
sure.
I go to do an open mic, Yeah, I mean, when I go to an open mic, I'm really just thinking about the material, and I'm just really focused on how the it's going to be received, just so I can get like the data points, because sometimes there's a hoop that I think is really good, and I run it, and it didn't work, or there'll be lines I'm surprised that worked as well as they did. I have a much better sense now than I did when I started of how something's going to go. I usually have a kind of an idea if it's going to be great or if it's going to probably not work. But sometimes I'm pretty surprised. And so when I go to open mics just to run it in front of the audience and then, be like, oh, that okay, good to know this and cut that line. And so I'm just really focused on just like, I think of it as like data points. It's just like, how much information can I get about how this joke works so that I can then go revise and then do it a couple more times. And then, hopefully just doing that 2 or 3 times or 4 times with a joke will get it in enough shape that I can put it somewhere into the act. And then, then kind of hammer it out. And then, one day you just look up 6 months later and you're like, oh, I think the joke's finished now.
Yeah. Yeah, that does roll. It is nice that you get like Acme and Comedy Underground and stuff like that, which are always good crowds.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty fun. Well, I mean, there's obviously bad mics everywhere, but it is fun when you go to like I wouldn't even say fun. On like Tuesdays, it's consistently like 5 of us there, and then maybe one person in the crowd. So it's just saying it out loud on stage, to get it out and hope that something comes to you during there.
Totally, and I had the advantage in the Twin Cities of us having so many good mics. So I don't do the ones that are as bad as I used to.
Yeah.
But every now and then I do, because I do think there's something to be said about a mic where, I mean, I don't really feel pressure at any mic, so it doesn't matter. But when almost no one's listening and there's 4 people in the audience, it's one of those small mics, and you can just kind of riff and just say stuff, it completely doesn't matter. That can be kind of valuable too. So that, I mean, I don't think there's any like bad open mic in the sense of like, it's still good practice, even if it's bad mic.
Oh, for sure. No, that's.
Yeah.
I think that actually does get in. Like, I know, like, it does help you to learn to not care. I mean, like, if that makes sense. Where it is just like, I'm gonna say this no matter what, no matter who's in the crowd. Because you kind of get spoiled. Like a lot of people that just start out at the cellar get pretty spoiled right away, having 50, 60 people in that room at an like open mic. Like you have a full crowd there.
Yes.
And then people just kind of think that they're like, oh, this is what comedy is all the time. And then you go to your first show where it's at 6 p.m. in a bar that's a free show and you're opening up and you're like, why is not everyone paying attention, laughing, being quiet?
Or even you go to do usually even you go to a regular show, you're getting paid $100 to feature and you've only done the cellar and you go to some bar show. Or even another club somewhere potentially that's not nearly as good, and you're like, "Oh, dang! I just realized the cellar's amazing. I think I was wrong."
Yeah, exactly. He just learning how to bomb.
I think there's a weird bit of treachery when you're in a smaller scene that has a really good club. I've seen that in Madison as well, because Madison doesn't have a ton of mics, but they have Comedy on State, which is a great club. And you see these comics who only have really done Comedy on State, and they think they're really good because they've never really had the combative audience before. And then you see them do, even just kind of a meh bar show, and they're kind of panicky. And it's like, yeah, dog, it's not always an A club. It's not always this great room. So I would argue it's still pretty much always better to have experience in a good room than a bad room. Because I have seen people who do so many bad open mics that they kind of learn only to do comedy in a bad scenario. Oh. And then when they get in front of people who are like not combative and not drunk and not, or not hammered and like listening, they kind of don't know how to handle it. They're used to just like fighting the whole time. It's almost like a kid from like a neglected, abusive household. And then he finally goes, to a nice house. And he's just like, well, we're throwing food at each other and cursing at each other, right? And you're like, nah, dude, it's okay here.
Yeah,
you're safe.
The foster system of comedy.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, here we have with the cellar. I mean, it is. People do get spoiled, I think, and then when they go out to different clubs, like even when we did have some of the other mics that were not as great, they would go to that and then they'd always complain about the audience or complain about the whatever the system was, and it was just kind of like, hey, that's what it's normally like. You guys are just lucky that this place exists and you can be a part of it.
Yeah, some rooms are there's something about them where the layout is good and the vibes are good and it's well run, and it, like the cellar, just like I've never been there when the crowd wasn't good ever one time. I mean, I've never been there for the mic or anything, but I've done so many shows there, and it's always great. And so you're just like, it's I mean, obviously it's wonderful to do those rooms, especially when you're traveling and you know you're going somewhere where like this is gonna be fun. But there are other rooms that can have almost the inverse, where it's like, oh man, it doesn't matter what you do here, everything's gonna suck. It's like the reverse of a good vibe, where it's like almost like a haunted house or something. You're like, did someone die on stage here and now we're all haunted? Like, why is this room never, even though being 70 people in some bad room, it's like still terrible. And you're like, how is this possible? But someplace like the Cellar or the Comedy Corner, you know, I'm sure at the mic sometimes you guys might have, you know, maybe 20 audience members, but it's like, oh, it still feels like a completely packed, awesome show. It's just, you know, it's kind of a mystery in some ways.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, dude, there was one gig that I had that was actually one of my first times, well, like probably over a year ago. But then I went, well, you know, like Nate Folsabach and those guys. I went with them and like Dave Standel, and I had to open up, and Josh DeLay, and I opened up the show, and it was all windows the whole way around on a lake.
Oof.
Yeah, they put us on. Well, it was still light out. We got there on a lake, free show. I had to open, people just not paying attention, guys sitting around the bar. Well, everyone's drinking on the lake the whole day. And you come in, they're like, oh, comedy show. So, getting that crowd just to listen was hard enough. And I was like, oh, this is what? That was like the first thing. And then Dave and I were driving back, and we hit a deer. I was like, man, what a great night this was.
But going to some bad mics though does train you for that. I used to go to this mic called Grumpy's in Minneapolis, which was an awesome mic but a terrible one. Everyone hung out there. It was super fun, but the show was famously brutal. It was Mark Rhodes called it the worst room in the country, but he always went. Or Tom Rhodes, he was, hey, worst room in the country. I'll be there on Wednesday. Whenever he was in town. But I've been on stage at tough gigs. Like actually, most recently I was down in Florida in Orlando. And I did what I thought was a corporate that turned out to be, when I got there, it was a Passover celebration for a 1,000 ultra-Orthodox Jews.
Oof.
Who had just ended. Yeah, they had just ended their the Passover main part, and I was like the entertainment, and it was mostly like super ultra-Orthodox Jewish teenagers and their grandparents who were basically kind of at church. And I had to do 20 minutes. And I haven't bombed like that in years. Yeah. It was so hard. And I just had to remember the bad open mics. Remember how you do this. And, you slog through it. But you kind of need that practice in a tough room. And then, of course, I got done with the show and no one laughed. And I got done with the show and everyone was like, oh, that was great. We really enjoyed that.
That's always fun, isn't it?
Okay.
You're like, no, you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I think, a lot of times you're your own worst critic because you get in. I mean, I don't know, I guess, what it's like for someone who's been in the game for a minute like yourself. But, you get in your own head and you're like, oh, my gosh, I did horrible. That was really bad. But then, other comics and the audience is kind of like, no, that was pretty good. That was funny. That joke was good. And then just like,
I think I'm a pretty accurate critic if I'm at a club because, I know how much laughs I should be getting, But at a corporate, it can be weird. And this was more like a corporate in that way. Where, we were just one part of the day. There was tons of stuff going on before and stuff going on afterwards. And it was this huge soiree. I mean, I think there's thousands and thousands of dollars to go to this thing. And so you just have to remind yourself, well, this wasn't really a comedy club audience. So they're not in the rhythm of it and laughing out loud. So they're just literally, and it's a religious thing and they're there with their parents and their grandparents. So people are actively trying not to laugh, even though they're enjoying themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Awkward. So then they're just individually telling you, I really liked that. And you're like, wow, as a collective, I got to tell you, you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, no one wanted to laugh at anything.
Dude, cleared.
Dude, we did. Yeah, that's all that matters. That was one time, and it was me, Aiden McCluskey came with us to Bismarck for this corporate for the National Guard, which actually, it ruled because they were actually really respectful and laughed when they wanted to. The people that didn't want to stay for the comedy part, couple tables just get up and went to the other room to talk and things. We're like, oh, this is actually sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I was like, this is going to be a good show. And I was like 13, I was doing like 15. I was at like the 13-minute mark. And I swung my arm and hit this table.
Oh.
And that had a rose and a folded flag on it. Turns out they had a soldier die that week. And that was the memorial table that I knocked over. It's like, this is such a good show, Till. And like, well, the funny thing is, they didn't tell us. They were just like, you guys can stand up by that table and stuff. Didn't mention anything to us about that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then like, I accidentally knocked it over. And they got, right when I knocked it over, they came up as fast as they could, like trying to pick it up. And I'm like, oh, guys, that's okay. We can just like kind of set it off to the side and get this done later. They're like, they're giving me like the cut it out motion. I'm like, what's up? I'm like, no, just leave it there, guys. Like, then my other friends can put their notes and stuff on here. They're like, you need to shut up. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, this is for the fallen soldier. I was like, oh my God. And then then I brought up Dave, and then I brought up Josh, who we were supposed to like not say a couple things. Josh was starting to do crowd work, and they walked him right into what he wasn't supposed to say. He was like, oh no. So he said that, and then I think Aiden even went up there, and they also hit something that was like, oh no, like the things that we're supposed to avoid. I knocked over the memorial table and then said like the 3 things that we were supposed to avoid talking, but it was like afterwards they were like, that was an awesome show, and they tipped us too. I was like, sweet, but I was pretty scared. Aiden was like, Blaise, we need to make sure we go get that money right now.
Generally, military crowds are very good, though. I've always had good shows in military. I've done a couple of bases and stuff, and that's usually a pretty good audience.
Yeah, that's not bad. Well, you got any other weird talents?
I don't really know what do you consider a weird talent. That's a good question. This is mostly what I do. I do this, and I do write fiction. That's my day job, or my day, not really job, vocation or something. But yeah, I write short stories and working on a novel. So.
Oh, nice. What's that about?
It's a crime novel. Kind of Elmore. I don't know if you're a fan, like Elmore Leonard, Harry Crews,
okay,
kind of type stuff. Sort of Southern Gothic, dirtbag stuff.
Nice. You ever have people be like, you know how you make movies, or people make movies, but like, can I be in your movie? Like, can you write me into your book?
Can you name a character Mark Way? That'd be awesome.
You know, it's funny. I named a character after a girl one time that I used to date. And then another girl that I used to date of the same name read the story and then like Facebook messaged me. He's like, it was just so meaningful to me that you named this character after me, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, sure.
That, Sarah.
Yeah.
There's a billion Sarahs.
I had a bit about my ex-girlfriend who had me blocked on every single thing. I put it on Instagram. I hadn't talked to her in like 2 years. And it was like, why is Jamie liking my post? And I was like, it's not great about her. It said it either. So I was like, oh.
It's like,
it's like, that's a good.
I actually, I stopped using real people's names on stage a long time ago because I used to do a joke about an ex-girlfriend who I was still kind of friendly with, but like, you know, she broke up with me. So that's kind of what the joke was about. And I used a real name in the joke, and it wasn't terribly mean or anything. But one time at Acme, after it was like a sold out show, I went out front, and all these people this group were standing up. They're like, "Hey, we looked that girl up, and we sent her a bunch of nasty messages on Facebook. We all did it."
What?
I was like, oh no,
that's not.
And so then she was like, "No," and then she was like, obviously really upset. And I was like, "I didn't dox you. I didn't send people after you. It was weird drunks. I don't know why they did that, but I felt like it did make me look like a jerk, but I felt really bad. So
yeah.
I was like, okay, no more using real names of anyone on stage unless it's very complimentary.
Oh, I didn't even use a name. She just knew the stuff. I just said my ex-girlfriend. She found it out. But her friend had to have been like, that's about you. Yeah.
Like, hey, check this post out. I think it's about you.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, I don't have any ex-girl. Like, I've been married so long that social media wasn't a thing. So like, I don't have any ex-girlfriends on any of my social medias. I don't think.
No, you only have your mistresses on there.
Let me just tell you, I bet my wife wished I had a mistress.
She's like, I'll take some of this burden off me.
She would laugh. She'd say like, "Oh yeah, like yeah." If I told her I had a mistress, she would be like, "Stop lying." No, you don't. Like, oh, that's funny that you think you could have a mistress.
She's actually like, "Wow, good for you."
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, way to
she's
move up.
She's like, "I've also been seeing 4 other men." She's like, "I can finally come clean to you now."
Oh man, that would be best case scenario. Just kidding.
I think you should just tell her to start now. Just get it going now.
Hey, honey, if you're listening, just go ahead. Just yeah, it's fine.
She has it on the background while she's with her mister right now.
Her mister.
I don't know what is the name for a dude.
I think. Oh man,
That's
I don't.
true. What is the name for a dude, mistress? That's there should be a name.
Well, it might be Mister. Well, like I think in the South they would always call.
Oh, it's a paramour.
Oh.
Well,
what
that's
about
pretty
like?
fancy.
Yeah, that sounds too fancy.
That says the word has an added advantage of not being sex specific. So I guess it could be
like a proxy or not a replacement, but
here
a
it just
surrogate.
says the male equivalent of a mistress is referred to as a lover, a paramour, or a gigolo. But that gigolo's not.
Gigolo's
Gigolo.
like
That's a little intense.
Yeah.
That's well, like what's that? Sancho in Spanish isn't like Sancho the guy who's sleeping with your girlfriend? His name's always Sancho.
Oh, like in the Sublime song?
That's exactly what I was referencing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's because I was
okay.
like, this guy Sancho sounds like a jerk, and then they were like, oh, all guys that are cheating on or whatever, like the guy your girlfriend or wife is cheating on, his name's Sancho. And I was like, oh. So I don't know if it's a name
They've got a
or
word for it. I respect that. I like that there's a word for it. We should start using Sancho in English. That's what your wife's dude is. He's a Sancho.
Which is for sure happening.
Hey, honey, what do you call the guy? Well, in Spanish it's Sancho, but in your case it's Derek. Like, oh, who's Derek? I'd be kind of amazed that you met a Derek.
That's how I know you've been married a long time, by the way. You said, if my wife's listening to this, and then you laughed.
I'm not even kidding you. I said to her, well, she's already at work, but I said to her like a week ago or whatever, I was like, hey, our podcast is doing pretty good. And she's like, you're what now? Like that thing that I go to every like we've been doing it for about a month and a half now. Oh yeah. Like, oh yeah. Yeah.
See, in a weird way, though, that's a sign of a really healthy marriage. I really think that, where it's like, because if you're a comedian and you first start like dating or whatever, they're really hung up on like your act. I've seen this a million times. I've seen dudes showing up with their girlfriends and like, oh, they watch every step and they're so into it. And it's like, yeah, but it's like weirdly contingent on that, and then like they start to like care in the wrong way. Or they start to critique it, or they want you to stop, or whatever. It becomes a lot of energy. Whereas my wife is just like, "Oh yeah, you're going out to do your job. Okay, that's fine. I'll see you later." She comes to a show like once a year, and then she's like, "Yeah, that's fine. Go to comedy. I have things to do."
Yeah,
but it's nice. It's like, oh, you don't care. You have no interest in how good or bad I am. It's just completely removed. But that's nice. It's positive.
That is very true. I'd say my wife she goes to more shows that I'm not performing at. Like we'll go on like a date night or something because there's a comedian there or something, and we'll go to that. But yeah, I do see like a lot of times at the open mics there'll be like a relationship, like where one of the comics has got their girlfriend or whatever, and like you can see the relationship just go down, and like one of them will say like, in this joke you should say this and do that or whatever, and you're like, well, I'm the one that is practicing and wants to be a comedian, and you're the audience member. Please don't critique or like, let me take advice from the other comedians rather than some lady who wants me to kind of do good, maybe a little.
Or father her child.
Or father, yeah.
Oh man, one of my least favorite things is the comedy girlfriend or boyfriend who goes to enough shows that they start giving other comics advice like they do it.
Oh,
That drives me nuts. This one, I won't say who, but a comic's girlfriend a couple of months ago was telling me how I should no, your stage presence isn't there, and this one joke needs this, and your timing, and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, excuse me?
Yeah.
You've been dating a comic for 6 months? I've been doing this for 16 years. Ixnay.
Yeah. Why don't you get up there and
like,
try
actually,
it out?
Yeah.
You're like, new perspective. I will do that. You do it, and it just crushes exactly what.
Dude, what was there? We have a.
Well, it's funny that actually there was a comic many years ago who used to come around, and he was really, really bad. And he would always bring his girlfriend, and she was nice, and she'd sit in the back or whatever, you know. And we like talking to her, but she's pretty quiet. And the dude was terrible, and he was always terrible. And then one day the girl's like, I think I'm going to try it. And she was so much funnier than him. So much funnier that almost instantly it just destroyed his spirit, and they broke up, and then he left the scene, and then she kept doing comedy for years.
Yeah. I've seen that a couple times. We had a comedian who he got some advice from an audience member who had been to, like, I'm not even kidding, maybe 2, maybe 3 open mics. And she came up to him and gave him a tag, and then he was like, I'm going to try it. So he tried it, and now that joke, just because of that tag, crushes so much harder than it normally does, just because she was like, oh, there's that extra half inch. And just like, man, if I would have thought of that. But yeah, he just threw it in, and then bam, it makes the joke so much funnier. Sometimes it can be good, but
you can get a tag from anywhere. I mean, I'll take a tag if it works. It's good. I've had like pretty new comics make a suggestion, and I go, oh, that's solid. I'm putting that in. I'll give that a whirl. And a couple of times I've had audience members they weren't trying to tag something exactly but maybe we were doing a bit of crowd work or something about the joke. I'm riffing the joke a little bit, and they blurt something out, and I think, I'm going to incorporate that. That's pretty good. I'll keep that. Hey, take it where you find it. It's like finding $20 in old pants. It feels like free money.
Last week I was like, man, I wish I had $20. And then this week you're like, I'm lousy with money. What do I spend it on?
Dude, I did that with almost every pair of shorts that I put on this summer. That I was like, I must not have washed these when I put them away last year, because there's been crumpled dollar bills in each one.
That's because you're wearing shorts at your stripper gig.
Yes, that's why. What good noise there.
Well, the people that can't see have to demonstrate that you're putting dollars in shorts.
Definitely the last strip club I went to was in Fargo, by the way. Many years ago.
Nice.
Jan Steverson took me to some place not super far from the club, and Fuselbach was there too. I'm not really.
It was the northern
guy, but
you're probably at Chubb's before that or so. It's funny. Chubb's could also be called a strip club name, but that's just like a dirty dive bar that's pretty close to there. Yeah. Dude, the funny thing is, I know a few of the dancers there, just from I knew them before. So that were like my pals, and so I went there with a bunch of friends, and I was just started talking to this girl. And she's like, I like fun. I like going to strip clubs. And I was like, I mean, you can come with us. Whatever. Yeah, sure. Show up. And she came up right when she shows up. 3-4 of the girls come up. They're like, hey, Blaise. Hey, how's it going? I was like, I swear this is not because I frequent this place. I knew these people before out of here.
Yes.
That's a hard one to... luckily, that girl was a dirtbag, so she didn't care.
She was like, oh, Cinnamon and Sabrina.
Yeah. She's like, I know all of them. No.
Yeah. We're roommates. I'm their pimp.
There's some places that you don't want to be known. Like the liquor store that I go to by my house, I really respect that they always pretend that they don't know me, and they ask for my ID, where I'm like, boss, I was here yesterday. We all know you know me, but I appreciate you pretending like you're like, oh, look, Wino's back again.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Actually, I got carded. Well, this was a long time ago when I was a minor. I lived around the corner from a place, and I would buy beer all the time. And then I brought my girlfriend, who, like, I think I was 20 and she was 19, whatever it was. And I went in there to go get us booze for the night. And I'm like, I come in here 3 times a week and buy. Everybody knows me. It's fine. And I walked in there, and I think they just saw my girlfriend, and they were like, "Can I see your ID?" And then I was like,
Yep.
Hey, Marcio, no, I don't have my ID on me. And he's like, all right, just go grab it, and I just got to see it before I can, and I was like, I get it, and I never went back there. Like, dang.
You blew it.
Yeah. I'm like, I was going to get some tonight, Marcy. You blew it.
Yeah, when I went to college in Chicago, and there was a bar around the way. And I used to go there to watch hockey. And then one night the guy's like, "Oh, you want a beer?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he split me a beer. And I was 18, and so because I went there by myself, I think they just thought I was older. And so now I have this place I can go, this bar I can get beers at anytime I want to. And all my friends are like, you got to take it. You got to take it. And I was like, I will never take one of you guys, because the second the 2 of us walk in, they're going to be like, wait a minute, those fellas look pretty young.
Yeah.
I knew that would break the spell. It's like, if I go in by myself, the dude's used to me, it's a thing. And so I kept that secret till I turned 21. I was like, you guys aren't finding out my secret bar.
That rules.
Yep. And then you show him the ID when you turn 21, and he was like, "Oh, you got me." For the last 2 years.
That's exactly what happened. He was like, I think I made some reference to being like, well, now that I'm 21, and he was like, wait, what now? Do what? You've been for 2 years.
He's like, I met your whole family.
You brought your dad in here.
Yeah.
It was a great bar. It was the Pequod, named after the boat from Moby Dick. It was a pizza and beer place in the North Loop, and it was awesome. I have very fond memories of that place.
Nice. If you're a minor, go there.
Yeah. Worked for me. Just go by yourself. Go solo.
Yeah. Smart move.
I kind of hope Ed the bartender is not still working there, though. I hope Ed has moved on to greener pastures by now. That was a long time ago.
How old was Ed at the time when you were going there?
Probably in his early 30s.
Oh, okay.
So that would put him at like mid 50s now.
Yeah.
He owns that place now.
I hope so. It's very successful. It's a great bar. It's pretty popular.
Nice. I don't think I've been to that one. I've been to every Billy Goat Tavern in Chicago, though.
Sure.
Oh, jeez. Most of my time in Chicago was spent as a minor, and I never really did a lot of drinking there. We did try to find a silly string club that we went on this all-night hunt for. It was apparently a club you walk into it, and as soon as you walk in, they spray you with silly string, and it's just wild club inside. And yeah, we turned 21. It was one of the worst nights of my entire life, actually. That club had closed down permanently, so we got there, and we couldn't get in. We couldn't, all this hype of driving to Chicago, and then it was closed.
Oh.
And then, yeah, we had to go find it. We ended up going to an Outkast concert.
Oh, whoa.
Which was, that part was good. So there was a 2-hour block that was like, all right. But then when we left, my car had been towed, and we had to spend the last, we each had $50 cash, and it cost $100 to get my car out of impound. So I was like, oh my gosh. And I had to actually, I remember, I had no debit card or anything. I had to call my mom, and she told the cashier her credit card number and filled up my tank with gas so we could get home.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like,
wow.
Man, this is the worst night ever.
My one buddy just had his credit card number memorized because he was buying a lot of stuff online, and it didn't have like the automatic fill Google thing yet. It was like years ago, probably 10 years ago. And then he just had it memorized. And I remember we were like just super hot on like 110 degree day down in like southwest North Dakota. None of us had our wallets because I think we jumped in the river or something like that. We just ran over to the gas station. We're like, we don't have a card, but he has his whole credit card number memorized. Like, that's better than having your social security number memorized.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, it would be. I'm not sure, like, when I go to use my card, I just hover over the thing, and then it just says, like, it auto-populates everything.
Yeah. Dude, getting the... I don't know how it works to have wireless. Everything wireless blows my mind. Being able to tap your card is mind blowing to me every single time. And I'm always like, I'm going to use the tap feature.
Check me out. I'm living the life of a king.
Dude, well, they went from swipe, which was easy. You swipe it. Then they went to the chip where you put the chip in and never failed it every single time. I'd have to put in 3 times, like to try it again. Oh, there, it helped it. And then it went to the tap, and my life has gone to new levels since.
That Casey's that I sometimes see you at, I've been there a couple times, and the card is broken off in the machine because somebody jammed it in there, and then instead of pulling it out, they were like, let me just lift it out, and snap. They just break their card off in the machine.
I think it's funny that you said that Casey's that I sometimes see you at, as if I just hang out at the Casey's.
That's
Sometimes
exact.
when
I was just about to ask that. Like, you just like smoke cigarettes in front of a gas station, like a weird old dude who graduated high school 4 years ago. Like, hey girls, y'all need any natty ice?
Yeah, I know. I randomly buy. Well, dude, that's the one Casey's in town that it has. Dude, they'll have like, I don't know, pepperoni, sausage, pork pizzas there or something like that. There are Casey's that actually does like different pizzas that just has it out that you can get by the slice. So sometimes it's on my way to work, so sometimes I'll stop there, and actually the percentage of times that I stop there to grab pizza and Mark Way is in there is concerning. I don't know.
I work right around the corner from that, and actually I went there the other day, and the lady told me, she was like, I haven't seen you in a while. But the guy I used to go there with, and I mean, we would go 3 times a day, and then he doesn't work there anymore, so now I don't go nearly as often.
Yeah.
But it is the cheaper of the alternatives, the 2 gas stations that were in between. So I hit up Casey's.
Nice.
Shout out Casey's.
One time I was just like, one time I was walking through the aisles there, and I just heard, oh, is that guy that was at the comedy club? He was so funny this past weekend. I was like, whoa, who's actually talking about me? And then I turned around, it's Mark Way, and I was like, no, it's just.
Oh, man. I was at the Holiday gas station. Almost, it's going to be Circle K pretty soon. And dude, it was like, honestly, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Like, I'd ridden my bike home from downtown, stopped at the Holiday to get some food, I'm sure. And the guy ringing me up was like super flirtatious with me and was like, hey, I know you do comedy or whatever. And I did not recognize this guy at all. And he's like, I go there all the time. And I was like, no, you don't. You know, like, you maybe saw me once. Anyway, as soon as I got home, I had a friend request from him on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, and I was like,
wow.
So then I just never did anything with it.
And now you have a new mister.
Now I have a boyfriend.
Definitely the weirdest place I got recognized was this was years ago. But I was at my my shrink's office, my psychologist office, or whatever we call her, therapist lady.
She finally recognized me.
She finally recognized it. It was like I was in the lobby, and it was like a big, medical building. There's multiple floors, and I was filling out my paperwork, so like pay my $20 copay or whatever. And the elevator door dings open behind me, and one person gets out, and then the other lady in the elevator goes, "Oh my gosh, are you Bryan Miller?" And I stepped out of the elevator, and I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is very flattering, but like, everyone in the doctor's office is looking at me. They're like people like crying in the waiting room, getting ready to go in to talk about their trauma. And watching this lady like talk to me, and she goes, "Can I get your autograph?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And so I grabbed this piece of paper and I signed it for thanks, see the show. And they gave her the form, and then the nurse is like, "You just gave that woman your medical insurance form, by the way." I was like, oh no.
That therapist is like, yeah, but wait till I tell you the trauma that you just told me. Come back here.
There's actually, without naming names, there's a comedian that is also in that industry who does jokes about his clients' problems. And I'm sitting in the audience going like, I'm pretty sure this is against HIPAA. Like, he's not saying their names, but like, this ain't great, right?
Yeah, I'm not so upset that it's against HIPAA. I'm upset that how much material he must get every week while he gets paid
free
for it.
material. Like, this guy loves his mom so much.
Yeah, they say comedy comes from tragedy. They didn't say it had to be your tragedy.
Yeah. That's why there's so many 9/11 jokes.
That's 100% true.
Awesome. Well, we're getting done with our studio time here, Brian. I'm going out to Southwest North Dakota with a couple of the boys this next weekend. So I won't see you this week, which is upsetting.
I just assumed I'd see you there. You're always there. I just figured you'd be there.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
right?
I'm doing the old county fair back in Mott and with Folsabach, Josh DeLay, and Cam Leedy. So anybody from the western side of the state, I found out that people are actually listening to us there, which is nice. We'll be there on Saturday at 6 p.m. On Friday night, we'll be at Dickinson at the final at 8 p.m. And we got a private gig on Thursday. But let them know about this weekend, Brian.
Yeah. So it'll be at Fargo. Me and Dave Sandell will be great, good buddy of mine, and yours. Be opening. We got shows at 9 o'clock on Friday and Saturday at the Cellar, Front Street Tap Room. It's gonna be great. I'm working on a new hour to try to record for the end of the year, early next year. So got a big chunk of that done. So it should be a lot of material I have never done in Fargo.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
And Mark Way, you're hosting, right?
I am hosting. I'll be there this weekend too.
Nice.
So yeah, that'll be fun. And
All right.
Yeah, always with the open mic on Wednesday. That's where I get my hosting chops in at the open mic.
So
Hosting that on Wednesdays.
awesome. Yeah. So that's at 9 p.m. too on Wednesdays. It does stink. Like now, and me and Mark Way need to figure out stuff to do for a whole nother hour on Wednesdays before the mic. So
Like, oh.
We'll go to Casey's. They know him there.
oh yeah, we'll just go meet at our favorite Casey's.
Yeah, or meet your Sancho over at the other gas station.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Let's bring it full circle. Well, awesome. Well, thanks again for calling in, Brian. It's always fun to talk to you.
Yeah, great talking to you guys, and I'll see one of you this weekend. And
That's
hopefully,
right, that's
listeners,
right.
Come on out. See
Awesome.
a bunch of you. Come on out. So,
Yep. Have a great week.
Woohoo!
All right, catch you later.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
That was quite the ending.
Yeah, hey Brian, you don't have to say when you hang up the phone. Over.
No, you do. Okay, let's turn automation on.